Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. As I'm making this video, the Charlie Kirk Memorial is going on. So USA today is September 21st, 2025. Anyway, they said this and that, all right, memorial updates and what's going on. They're gonna give us updates, and at one point, Trump and Musk reunite at Charlie Kirk's Paka Paka Taka Paka. Now these are live updates. This is 5:34 Eastern time right now is 6:19. So they reunited over there, shaking hands and so on. Why do I make this video? Who will hijack, who will replace Charlie Kirk and will use that as a bigger trampoline to get higher as influence, I'm talking, and possibly candidate to the president's presidency. I have one name at least ready for you, but let me explain. How did we get to this kind of proceedings? Yes, Charlie Kirk was a person who speak out, had some ideas, had some ideals, fought for them, and unfortunately we don't know exactly whom did something to him that we know exactly what. Now let's go back in, you see, this is the President of the United States of America shows up, the biggest, the so-called, the biggest billionaire showed up over there, and many others, according to this. So it's it's a big event. All right. Now let's start with this. I'm very interested to see who's going to hijack the Turning Point USA. More than what's going on here with this, everybody shows up over there and so on. I want to know if whatever D Stallion showed up over there, or I don't know, Mr. Didi, or or maybe Beyonce did a little show or something. I wonder if they turn it into something like that. I wouldn't be surprised. So what's going on? Let's go back in time. I would say dozens of thousands of years ago. And that is at the time when we lived in a society where you usually had a guy who had the strongest fist and would beat everybody and was the most aggressive of them all. Therefore, he was the chief. That's how the chiefs were. And still are. The strongest ones. In those times, for most of our history or existence, the guy with the strongest fist and the cruelest one, the most aggressive individual in the pack, was the leader. They were not elected because they were handsome, or they were the artists, or they were the philosophers. No. The ones who beat up everybody else was the one in charge. That's how we had leaders. Then always in the leadership, you had the political leadership, and then you have the spiritual leadership. And that is, you had always the elder, the wiser, the wise man, the spiritual, the one that communicate with all those energies, spirits, and so on. And even the baboon in chief, the guy who was beating everybody else, was listening to this guy mumbling around and using some chicken bones to throw them down and tell you the future, and they were going to, all kind of oracles. Even the Greeks did that. The prophecies. So we had this spiritual aspect with some guys who spoke very well. And they usually turn into spiritual leaders, like the Pope, like the patriarchs, if you want. People who were in the other realm. They were leaders. Even the leaders with the strongest were listening to these guys. And then when one of those intellectuals, let's put them now, come back here, creators of ideas and ideals will perish. Like, for instance, remember Bill Graham, I think that's what was name, his name. In the 70s, he had the pinnacle, the maximum, right? The evangelist, all right? They had this kind of intellectuals that everyone was listening to of the country. If that person would say something, everybody was like, yeah, you see. Like, for instance, in Russia right now, they use Alexander Dugin as being the intellectual of the country. I know I'm exaggerating a little bit in order to give you the direction that you need to look into. Now we have Kirk. Kirk, with his Turning Point USA, had his movement. I do not know the ins and outs. You don't know them. The point is, he was very influential, and is so influential that even Elon Musk shows up over there, including with the President of the United States of America shows up over there, paying respect to this person for his fight against and for some ideals. Who will take over? Because usually it happens like this. The spiritual leader is killed, and I'm not trying to equate Charlie Kirk with a spiritual leader. Okay, let's from the get-go. But we will have one, and that will be using Charlie Kirk's Turning Point as a trampoline to be promoted as being the intellectual, the conservative intellectual. I suspect that would be Ben Shapiro. I suspect he is going to be the voice who's going to the entity, the monster, who's going to fill the void of intellect in the United States of America. He would be a kind of, if you know gymnastics in the United States of America, the Bella Carolis, the Caroli family, Marta and Bella Caroli. These baboons in America could train hard, could go to the whatever competition, nation, regionals, whatever they were going. At the end, these two gods, Bella and Marta Caroli, the trainers of Nadia Comaneci. You remember the first 10 because of Ceausescu, among others, just so you know. You don't know what I'm talking about? All right. See how now the old Ukrainians win in competitions and they were awarded sympathy and they win even though they should not win? That's what happened in Montreal with Ceausescu, who was a darling of the West. And Nadia she was very good. She was one of the best. All right. Nevertheless, so these Carolis defected. Romania went to United States of America and they became the gods. So they would bring at the ranch in Texas, Caroli Ranch. And over there they were looking and they were like, gods, you're not good, you're almost. And everybody was like, the Carolis. That's how we will have in the United States of America pretty soon. We're going to have our own guys that will be like the spiritual, how did we call them? How they call shamans? The witch doctor. From a long time ago. We will have these guys who are going to be giving us the yes or no on an issue. The intellectuals. Somewhere remote and outside like Brzezinski in political science. Or the other guy from Germany. Remember him? Yeah, barely speaking English like I do. Anyway. Remember the German guy? I'm sorry, Jewish guy? Yeah. Okay, Secretary of State and National Advisor. Okay, National Security Advisor. You know who I'm talking about, don't you? So these guys were like the gurus when they were talking about, he just died, 2 years ago or something, 101, 102. So when these guys were talking about it, was, oh my God, let's see what this guy is saying. So I think the void will be filled by luck or by tragedy by Ben Shapiro. I don't know. Netanyahu and Mossad have nothing to do with that. Zero. It's just a natural course of intellectuals. Like, for instance, at one point, Howard Zinn and Noam Chomsky were certain kind of intellectuals for a certain kind of segment of society, which was the anarchists. Or, those guys. They had those guys are the intellectuals. Not Henry Kissinger, the diplomat that I was talking about. Right? So now we're going to have probably the hijackers or the guys who actually will fill the void left empty or provided empty by entities connected to the world. Okay, we'll see. We'll see who will be the next Vur. Well, maybe Sam, whatever he's, Sam this and Sam that. We'll find out. And now, why is Who is this guy, Elon Musk? I want to talk about Elon Musk as well. I don't know if in this video or next one. He's allowed to say certain things, he's allowed to do certain things, and nobody else is. You tell me how many of the big billionaires on this planet send, I don't know, hundreds of satellites in space? They are allowed by the military to do that. If tomorrow I have, let's say, $80 billion and I have 3, 5, 7 companies and I decide to send some satellites over there with communication or something, do you think that the Pentagon will let me? I either cooperate with Pentagon or I'm part of the Pentagon and then criticize and then buy X and be a big billionaire. Something is not kosher here. I'm just saying. So let's go back. I'm eager, Beaver, to see who's going to hijack Turning Point, who's going to be the guru of the conservative movement. And I suspect it's going to be Ben Shapiro. And Ben Shapiro will be promoted as being a guru, and then we, the Europeans, will beg Ben Shapiro to be our leader. And Ben Shapiro probably will say, I'm above that. I will pick your leaders. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.